what inspired you to launch, Signum Hotels?
Set of exercises took about a year before we could idealize the name.
Do you believe the young entrepreneurs can, have a learning from this, that
Going forward, the way the world is shaping up,
what has been the biggest challenge for you in expanding Signum Hotels?
I think the biggest challenge is obviously when you're not known, you're not known.
One sector apart from hotel, if you want to start today in India.
Okay, I'll get into AI.
AI.
Yeah.
Atithi Devo Bhava. We represent Indian culture with this quote, and this is an integral part or integral quote for representing our Indian hospitality as well. To discuss the integral part of Indian hospitality, the business, we have today Mr. Mehul Sharma, who is the co-founder of Signum Hotels. Signum Hotels are spread across India, United Arab Emirates, Dubai in particular, and in UK. Also, they are expanding to Jordan as well. So to discuss what were the challenges to start these Signum Hotels in 2019, when COVID was at its peak, right? And when businesses were, declining and the revenue was going downside. So one courageous man, Mr. Mehul Sharma, thought of expanding the business of Signum Hotels across 3 different countries. So to discuss the insights, how he started it, what were the challenges, what are the achievements of Signum Hotels. So we have the man himself, Mr. Mehul Sharma, today with us on a podcast of the Thought Curries today. And we would be discussing all these insights about what were the challenges and how he overcome those, what are the recognitions that Signum Hotels have received in the span of last 6 years. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us today, and I hope we would be giving some value. We would be getting some valuable insights, from you today, and our audience would be able to, learn quite a few things about the hospitality industry today. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Let's start the podcast now. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and being a guest for us at the Thought Curry. So I'll start with something with your brand name, the Signum Hotels, which you started in 2019, if I am not wrong. So सबसे पहला सवाल बेसिक जो सब जानना चाहेंगे कि what inspired you to launch Signum Hotels in 2019, especially in such a competitive market and established industry. So what were your thoughts behind it कि आज हम start करते हैं?
Okay, so thank you, Siddharth, for having me here. I think it's a pleasure. My entire journey has been about 25 years in the hotels. 2018-19, when I was in the Taj, I was at various leadership positions. I think there is still a gap in a mid-scale, upper mid-scale segment in India to take the hotels into a much more organized setup. So that actually inspired me, because at that point of time, the hotels were growing, but not at the pace where currently the hotels are growing. There were branded brands which were already there in the market, like Taj or the ITC, Oberoi, Radisson, Hilton, Marriott of the world. But I definitely felt that there is a need for the other brand, because that was the time when Oyo and Fab and Tribo, they were more of an aggregators. Right. So that was the time when we thought that this is just the right time, because the next 10-15 years will be like a golden era for the hospitality. Of course, we did not foresee COVID coming in or the wars coming in and all that stuff. It was a very, very good period to start, because 2019 is considered to be one of the best and finest years for the hotel industry. So that's the idea which I thought of, because I I was already employed with Taj, and for a good amount of years which I spent, I think that was the time when I thought that I think it's high time that I should take a plunge of being an entrepreneur rather than working for somebody. I think it's time that I turn the tables around, and I think I should probably help the community grow and by building a brand and probably helping more and more employment. So that was the entire thought process in initially which started off, and that's when I started off the brand Signum. So Signum essentially is a Latin word. It means creating significant experiences. So the entire set of exercises took about a year before we could idolize the name. If you see our logo, it has on G, it's got a small balance sign, so which means we wanted to create, and we create balanced hotels both in terms of ecological and in terms of people. So when I say people, it means picking up the local community and helping them grow with yourself. So that there's a whole thought process which actually goes in when you make a brand. So we started off with scratch, and then we scaled it up from there. So that was the whole idea when we started off in 2019.
Well, that's a wonderful idea, and a lot of young entrepreneurs can, learn a lot from the thought process that you had at that point of time. When COVID was at its peak, and when most businesses were scaled back, you chose to expand internationally.
Yeah.
And what was the mindset at that point of time? Because you were already planning for UK market, Dubai, India, and then now you are in Jordan. So what was the mindset of
So I'll be very honest with you. When I started off the company, we started with 1 lakh paid up capital, absolutely ground zero. Built it up from scratch. I used to go to different hotels in my car to seek the fact that if I could work with them. The first hotel which we took was, it paid us 30,000 rupees a month. So I'm talking about the year 2019. So that's how we started off. But when we started in 2019, COVID was not there at that point of time, just about 6-7 months before. COVID actually, when it hit us, India was really badly hit at that point of time. So I was sitting in my office, I had 2 plans. My parents, since we are from Shimla, my parents called up and said that, listen, I think just pack up because your company is just about 7 months old. Pack up your stuff, come back to Shimla and stay there because we don't know what's going to happen. Or I don't know what you want to do. So I thought that in India, nothing was happening, everything was getting shut. What is the only way to survive? So essentially, as a human trait, if I were to follow a theory of this gentleman called Charles Darwin, which talks about survival of the fittest, I had 2 options: either shut on or think outside the box. So I started thinking, what do I do outside the box? So for me, outside the box essentially was moving out of India. So what I did was I actually started writing emails to a lot of hotel owners and brands outside India, because India was we did not get that kind of support from various places, because obviously the entire country was hit. I started writing to owners in US, Europe and all that stuff, and I actually wrote about 5,500 emails to a lot of people outside India.
Cold emails?
Sorry?
Cold emails?
Cold emails, all cold, nothing. 7-8 months in COVID, sitting in my office writing emails that how an Indian brand can essentially help them survive these crises. The good part about what we had was we had our board, which continues to be well with us. So I highlighted that as a very strong aspect of how they can help, and I started writing. Obviously nobody reverted. I sent and eventually 23 people reverted, out of which 8 people actually had calls. In 2022, in August, one of the brands based out of UK, they actually replied back saying that, okay, you are an Indian brand, you have worked in hospitality, you've done 20 years, you've got a good board. We have these service apartments and hotels in UK. How is it that you can help us out? So I prepared a report for them in terms of how sending people from India will help them in reducing the cost, how Indians are extremely strong when it comes to the quality, how Indians are extremely strong when it comes to numbers, and the best part about Indians being extremely warm in hospitality. We actually known for hospitality globally, but we haven't showcased it in the right way. So they agreed to meet, and we did about 8 meetings. I used to travel from India to London, did a lot of meetings. finally in October 2022 we signed a JV with them.
Okay.
So the entire inventory of about 1100 apartments were managed by us, and we continue to work.
That's huge.
And yeah, that's huge. That is it. So eventually, I think our global expansion, I would probably feel that COVID was the reason why we actually scaled outside. And when you are in the dire straits, so necessity becomes a mother of all inventions. That is exactly what happened, because either I survive or I move outside. So this helped us, and our revenues moved 5 times, 10 times, and we did extremely well. And then they moved into Middle East, and that's the story behind
Where the
this.
table turns.
Yes, that's the story. So everything was growing. In India, I thought, why in India? Let's move outside India and show what Indian hospitality is all about. And then eventually, I think the vision what I carry now is that why can't Indians become a global brand? We do not have a strong global brand as such. Of course, Taj is there, but Taj has a strong legacy of 100 years and all that.
Right.
So that's the whole idea.
Well, that reminds me of a data that I was going through, fortnight, that more than 50% of the hotels in US are, owned by the Indians.
Correct.
So
Correct.
what a better example than that, and you are setting it up in the real-time world.
Yeah.
All right, then you have 360 Signum,
Correct.
right, in the UK that
Correct.
focuses on extended stay guests, right? And why did you choose that particular niche? And how are you, reshaping the experience?
So this 360 Stays is the brand of UK which we collaborated. Hence the new entity is called 360 Signum.
Okay.
So these are service apartments, blocks of 20, 30 across in about 40 locations in UK. And they're all long stays, all extended stays. The good part is that the entire business is driven very strongly from India. The operations are controlled from UK. The entire central reservations, social media, HR, everything is done from India. UK as a market is very strong in extended stay and long stay, especially relocation, especially sporting events. We didn't realize all this stuff sitting in India, but when there is a match at the Leeds or the Oval or Wimbledon, the entire inventory gets completely sold out. So we targeted that. Of course, it happened by default because we anyways signed up with them. But then we realized that the business essentially in UK is a very strong long stay, extended stay business. And we continue to develop that business model. Average pricing is about 250, 300 pounds a night.
Yeah.
We have people staying in for 6 months. This is the best time to travel to London and across the places. It's completely packed. Occupancy is about 92%. It works very well because India currently is summertime. Occupancy is about 55, 60. But if you've got your hotels or apartments in a country where the occupancies are extremely high, your balance sheet looks very comfortable. So that's how we play around with it.
So I would like to elaborate more about extended stays for the audience, because when I talk about extended stays, London probably might not be the first choice of people because of the high pricing and all those things, as compared to destinations like Bali, Thailand, where people, or Goa, where people prefer to stay for 2 months, 3 months. They go out on vacations, right? So how UK as a long extended holiday or for a stay is.
So actually, contrary to what you're saying, so the target clientele who's going to Bali is not the clientele who goes to London.
Right.
Simple as that.
Right.
First of all. Secondly, we're not in central London. We are in Heathrow.
Okay.
That's where our major 80, 90 keys are there. And then across UK area, which means counties like Sussex, Wimbledon, South Wales, all that, Oxford. These are places which has businesses across the year. So we capture those areas where the business. So if you go to Oxford, the minimum stay, and if you want to do go to Scotland, and if you want to do a whiskey trail, you stay for about 2-3 weeks because you go, you do the entire whiskey trail because that's what Scotland is known for. You stay in the apartments and stay for about 2-3 months. So the business which is defined in UK for extended stay is very well a matured market which is already existing. You just have to tap and ensure that your yield is right. So the clientele who's traveling to Bangkok and all that stuff is not the one which we target. We have a very different set of clientele.
So it's all about the targeting.
Absolutely.
The correct audience.
Ultimately, it's about targeting itself.
And one more question. I recently, checked that you have a partnership with Wyndham Group,
Yes.
Wyndham Hotels. How did that come about, and
Yeah.
how has it impacted the Signum growth and brand visibility?
Okay. So you know what? We are a 6-year-old company, 6 years, 2 months old. We are bootstrapped. We've got no
That's
investors.
wonderful.
Yeah, we've got no investors. We are profitable. So if you are growing a company that too in hospitality space, I think there are two most important things which I realized in the last 2 years. One, if you've got enough and more capital, 200, 300 crores and all that stuff, then you can really build up and scale up. If not, then you have to be endorsed by a very strong brand which says that we endorse you as a good hospitality player. We've been trying to raise funds, but it is not easy to raise funds.
Right. In hospitality,
It is not. Then what we did was I started speaking to the large hotel companies to see if we can possibly work with them. So Wyndham turned out to be one of the partners which agreed to have a discussion with us. Although this entire conversation took about a year and a half, multiple meetings, multiple due diligence and all that stuff. The reason primarily was to get endorsed by the world's largest hotel franchising brand. Because then you get tagged as a very strong, serious hotel player when you especially want to scale up and build up a hotel which is, or build up a brand which is globally well known. So that was the whole thought process. Of course, people thought that I'm mad because we are just a small fish in the pond, and Wyndham is like it's the world's largest hotel brand, simple as that. There is no reason why they should work with us. Absolutely not. They're a huge ship and we are just too small a company. But I believed in what I said, and of course we had a very strong support from the president of Wyndham Hotels based out of London. They supported us. Eventually we signed off something in February. The good part is that they allowed us to carry our brand also, because that was extremely important. Generally, actually not generally, but the large brands, they do not allow your brand to come in. That's not how it happens. But if you see, for example, there's a Hilton, it will not allow any local hotel partner to put their brand. In this case, we were allowed to carry our brand, primarily because we worked on our brand standard, we had our brand specifications, we had our own technical inputs, and we had to really showcase it to them that we also have, and we want to run the hotels based on our brand standard. So they agreed. So eventually we signed a JV and we're developing about 5,000 keys in 5,000 rooms in India, Middle East and UK. And the hotels will be called Signum Trademark Collection by Wyndham, co-branded. And all operations will be run by Signum. So this has really boosted us in terms of we being seen as a very strong player in the global market. Secondly, a lot of new large inventories are coming to us. Owners who have 200 keys, 300 rooms, they want to now tie up with us because they now understand that if Wyndham has endorsed you, which means we are serious players in the market. So that is what it worked very well for us.
Alright, so do you believe the young entrepreneurs can, have a learning from this, that such kind of collaborations brings more credibility in the market, and it boosts your business as well?
See, you know what, Siddharth, going forward, the way the world is shaping up, I think the most, if you see how growth is happening purely through buyouts, JVs, collaborations, mergers, acquisitions.
Right.
That's the way forward.
Right.
Taj is on expansion spree. It's just signed up with Claridges to build up something. It bought Tree of Life. Radisson is getting into something. Marriott invested in Fern Hotels and acquired the entire 110 rooms portfolio. So that's the way forward. So any entrepreneur must not only think that how is he building up his brand, but he must also think that what are the other things he should do which can help him to collaborate and grow. See, it's a very competitive world, and we must understand startup in India, out of every 10, 9 of them will fail for sure. I mean, I've done a startup, and there were times when we also were absolutely, after COVID, we had nothing at all. But if you do not think out of the box, if you do not believe in working with different players, I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight. So going forward, I think acquisitions or mergers, JVs, collaborations is the way forward. And I think it's a great learning to have to see how you could possibly work and grow and help the industry grow. See, one has to move out of this mindset that I want my brand to grow, I want that brand to grow. I think the first and foremost thing one should keep in mind is the hospitality, the trade should grow, people should be benefited. If your fundamentals are in place, everything else will fall in place.
Right. That's all it takes, to take it forward. And then the question that I have is about India, right? You have done a lot of work in India. Your career started in India. So what kind of potential do you see in spiritual, medical and industrial hubs? And how is Signum addressing those specific needs?
See, you know what? India has about 200,000 branded keys. If you see the growth of demand and supply, there's a huge mismatch. The growth of inventory is moving at about 4.5% CAGR, the cumulative accounted growth rate. And the supply which is being added is much lesser. Growth is much more, supply is lesser. So when the growth and supply essentially will come on a same platform, it will take another 8-10 years.
Okay.
So the market will be buoyant until unless there is some major issues like the political unrest or any other medical insurgencies and all. The market will do extremely well for the next 10 years. But if you see in the last 3 years after COVID, people have followed or they follow this trend that you only live once, you travel, you spend money on the hotels, you enjoy the life. I think it's one life meant to be enjoyed. Ayodhya is a perfect example how religious tourism has really shot up.
Right.
Shirdi, any religious place in India will do well now for the next 10-15 years.
Okay.
There is no rocket science. If you get a hotel at the right place and the right product, it is bound to do well. You have to get your services in place. Product, there is no problem. Ayodhya, whatever be the case, people are making money. Kedarnath, Badrinath, Shirdi, down south, any religious site, Khatu Sham, they're all flooded. Any good temple if you see, and if you see the occupancies, it was a very unstructured market till a couple of years back.
Right.
Look at Marriott coming at Vrindavan.
Right.
Who could have thought that Marriott would probably come up in Vrindavan? Right. Taj is coming up and all because of the fact that the religious tourism has taken a very serious shape. So same for medical, same for any other tourism. India, if it's growing at the rate of about 6.5% GDP and the contribution of tourism, which is about 12%, will do well. And this is pure domestic, which is at 92%. Inbound is not coming in what it used to come in the year 2018-19. Imagine if inbound starts coming into India, that will only help to yield. Base is already set with domestic tourism.
Right.
You look at yourself, you're an avid traveler. You were not the same 5 years back.
Absolutely.
It's a change of complete mindset of people.
Right.
Every short break, we all travel. I travel, I mean the good part about my job is that I get paid to travel essentially. So I travel across the world and eat the best food, stay in the best hotels, see the best view. That's what it is. People love to travel in India. People love to spend money in India, and they're just having a good time. So hotels and hospitality will do extremely well in India in the next 10-15 years for sure.
Great. We would also love to see that. But you just said कि अगर आपका place जो है जहाँ पे आपको होटल खोलना है और particularly जो spiritual tourism है उसके लिए you can definitely generate good revenue out of it. So what are the deciding factors कि जो location आप choose कर रहे हो is the right one?
So there were hotels, as some of our people in the past. Hotel is all about location, and location. A religious way, how close is it to the nearest temple, for example? You talk about any good tourist spot. So it's commercial district, for example, in Delhi, Connaught Place does occupancies of 80% throughout the year. Gurgaon does 78-80% throughout the year. Average rate is moving up. It's moved from 7.6 to about 7.8. Delhi is the same. Same for Bombay. So the location in terms of commercial business districts, in terms of the local tourist hotspots, in terms of local temples, in terms of proximity, conveyance, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, and then the latter part is the services and all, they come into play. But I think the most important thing for a hotel to be successful in India is location, followed by a good infrastructure to back in terms of travel and safety and security, which is of paramount importance also, in which the government has played a very, very important role. If you talk about the Udan scheme, if you talk about the way the roads are being built up and the connectivity which is improved, that's the reason why hotels are doing extremely well.
And the services
services is completely up to the brand. So if you have a brand which is there, services is expected, because people follow a legacy that, okay, I am staying at a X hotel because it's got a brand equity, I am assured of good services. There is no reason why you should not do well in terms of services, because you already have a customer who's coming to you. Once he's coming to you, it's up to you how much you can ensure that you take care of him, because repeat clientele is the key then.
Right.
The key is ensuring at least about 95% of your clientele is repeat, because cost of acquisition is much higher when you actually have to get a new customer. So best is to ensure that they keep coming back to you.
Right. Another question related to the pricing, right? So I travel a lot. I see, a new property in Ayodhya that has been recently launched. So the price for that was somewhere around 11,000 or 12,000 rupees for one night in non-peak season. And for the same brand in a different country for the same day was almost 40% lesser. So what is that particular thing that is the price point for a hotel for the same brand in India is higher, and in a different country who is probably more touristy is lower?
Pure demand supply, no? Simple, there is no logic to it.
Right.
You going to Ayodhya, the demand is extremely high and the supply is less. So same room which you, for example, whatever the brand is, you picking up that brand in a place where there's inventory is huge, you will hover at about 4,000, 5,000 rupees. Ayodhya, if you're going, for example, same property, same brand, even the property could be even inferior in terms of the hotel outside India, still you would pay that kind of price of 11,000 rupees. It's pure demand and supply. There's nothing else.
But I have a question related to this only. Do you think कि जो इंसान हिंदुस्तान के अंदर 10,000 रुपये खर्च करेगा स्पिरिचुअल टूरिज्म के लिए, राइट, मतलब या चाहता है मतलब वो चाह की बात है कि वो इतना देना चाहते हैं या नहीं चाहते, बट आई एम श्योर कि वो अगर बाहर किसी कंट्री में जा रहे हैं तो वो 10,000 रुपये देने में उनको ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम होगी नहीं. सो वो प्राइस पॉइंट या वो माइंडसेट अभी भी इंडिया के अंदर है कि हम इंडिया के अंदर 10,000 रुपये क्यों देंगे, वो
देते हैं ना. तो आंसर इसका यही है, आप जितना मर्जी बोलो मैं क्यों दूं, फिर भी आप दे रहे हैं, तभी भी 80% ऑक्यूपेंसी की चल रही है ना,
इसीलिए
चल रही है क्योंकि आपको जाना है. आप बद्रीनाथ जाइए, केदारनाथ जाइए, आप अपने वहाँ पे कुछ प्रॉपर्टीज हैं 30,000 40,000 के the rooms are there per night. Why are you paying a rate of 40,000 rupees in that place? Simple question. Demand, supply, and the religious faith in our country is so high that people pay. So there is no other reason. There is no logic behind this. All logic is defied, because you might say, why should I pay?
Right.
But eventually you're paying, na?
Right.
So the owner of that hotel or the brand knows that I will do 80-90% occupancy throughout here. I have to yield. So that when anybody comes, Siddharth comes and he says, why are you charging so much? The answer would be, okay, fine, stay in some other hotel. And the other hotel, you will eventually also pay the same kind of price. Purely demand and supply game. So, there is, whatever you're saying is fine, but people are riding the wave. Because the demand is so high, people are just riding the wave. Simple as that. The operating cost of a room is what? 1,500 rupees, 1,200 rupees. That's the operating cost. The margins in room is as high as 80-85%. That's the profit margin.
That's huge.
And what is the operating cost? The supplies, basic other costs, a little bit of manpower cost which goes into the room. But overall the profit is about 85%. So one room which costs about 1,200, 1,400 rupees to the owner, selling at 10,000 rupees, look at the margin which is there, straight away 85% margins.
Right.
So that is the whole logic behind this. In season time it will go up to 20,000 rupees. Today you probably paying a rate of 10,000 rupees. If you come on a very auspicious day, which is a celebration of Lord Ram, the rate of that same room will be about 20,000 rupees.
Right.
And you will still pay.
But also I have a question. So अगर कोई entrepreneur है, aspiring entrepreneur है, and he wants to create his own brand, उन्हें 5 room की acquisition की, right, on leasing that, and how much do you think starting with 5-10 rooms would a young entrepreneur or that particular team would be able to generate in revenue and starting it at some spiritual place?
See, 5-10 honestly is a very short. I don't know whether you will probably get a hotel. Obviously, you won't get a hotel. You'll probably get a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
It's the efforts are too much. The results and the ROI is too less. If somebody wants to really start this business, first and foremost thing is he has to have a good strong capital base. Leasing of 5-10 rooms is fine, but the return is not that much because your overheads are extremely high, which means your fixed costs are already there, which in terms of your rentals or payroll, electricity and all. But otherwise the wear and tear, repair, maintenance, other costs are extremely high. So if one has to really get into this business, you should look at economies of scale and not necessarily start with a very small number, because it's just, you have 10 hours in a day.
Right.
10 hours which you're putting into the efforts, you have to see what is your ROI. So it doesn't make sense for such a small inventory for an entrepreneur to essentially get into that stuff. If you really have to do it, make sure that you have enough and more capital backed up. You have a good business model. You know how to scale the operations. Understand all costs extremely well. Understand top line extremely well. Understand that the percentage of your rental has to be in proportion to your top line. Once you understand the dynamic extremely well, then one should get into that or take the plunge. Otherwise, I would not recommend.
Okay. And what has been the biggest challenge for you in expanding Signum Hotels across multiple countries and multiple ethnicities, and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge is obviously when you're not known, you're not known. So if you are representing a brand like a Taj or a Marriott, you just have to say that you are the Taj, or you don't even have to say, people will come to you. For us, I have to speak to 200 people, and then maybe one person will accept us as a brand. Simple as that. There is no. I think the reason why entrepreneurs are successful is the main reason is the grit and determination. If you're very gritty, I'm a very gritty person. I don't give up at all. So I think the most important quality in a person to really get your business moving is to be so gritty, so determined, so passionate, so much of a fire in your belly that you should be prepared for 1,000 rejections, yet believe that there would be one day which you would be successful. I mean, like Jeff Bezos pointed out, as an entrepreneur, 4 years you would be essentially grinding and grinding and grinding. And one fine year, you could be probably the biggest thing on the planet.
Right.
So that is the fact which actually holds true when it comes to making a brand. So I think accepting rejections, multiple rejections, but do not take things personally. I ensure that if I have been rejected, what is the reason? Take it as a learning. Move ahead, move ahead, move ahead. If I think of how I started off with a small paid up capital, and today we are in Dubai or in UK or in Jordan or in Middle East and other places, I can't even imagine that. I can't fathom that. How did I manage to even enter into Forbes, for example? Or how did we even manage to sign up with, say, Wyndham? Or how did we even manage to work with a very large real estate company in Dubai? I would have never thought of this stuff. So I think it's just about, when you get rejected, one must see what are the reasons why you got rejected, write it down, and ensure that you do not repeat the mistakes. Some mistakes are basically you do not understand your business. I've made blunders. I make blunders every day actually. But the important note for an entrepreneur would be that when you've made a mistake, write down and do not repeat it again. That's the only thing.
And take learning from it.
Learning is only, I think learning comes in when you write down. Yeah. So I think one important thing which I would like to tell people who are listening out, we think that we remember everything, but we're not Einstein, we're not robots that we remember. One thing which I learned as an entrepreneur is whatever mistake which I do, I write down, and I've made a small note which is called my learnings. And when I look back and think in the past, some of the mistakes I realized that they were such stupid mistakes, But it's important to make mistakes. It's important to fail. It's important in life that you go through the worst possible, because then only you see how nice it is to be successful in life. Because as people say, the view at the top is the best view. So if you probably get to the Mount Everest and you see the view down, it's beautiful. But the journey to the Mount Everest is the toughest. A lot of people actually give up in between. A lot of people give up. I think one thing one must realize is just not give up. Simple as that.
Right.
You could have the worst possible day, and it's not that I've had worst possible days, but I still believe that okay, next day might be better, and then you realize the next day is even bad than that. So that's what life is all about.
I can feel you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you focus heavily on technology, right? And how do you make sure that human touch is not lost, and in that process?
See, you know what? We are in the year 2025. We talk about Gen Zs and Gen X and Gen Alphas. I don't know what all we talk about. I think we've got some youngsters also sitting here. I can't even relate to, because somebody talked. There was an influencer who reached out to me and says LKW, LKM.
What is that?
Let me know. So I'm like, what the heck? Then I said, listen, yeah, you are, how old are you? She said, I'm 24. I said, listen, I'm 46. Please, can you talk my language, please? And they talk these smaller abbreviations and all that stuff. That's what it is.
Okay.
Having said that, I think hotels primarily run on two things: tech and people. When you've got the best tech in terms of the ecosystem, in terms of easing and making the processes extremely friendly for users, yet keeping the human element in place, I think you've done your job. So what we believe in, we're developing our own. In fact, we've developed our own tool called Staiforce. It's made by our team, which is based out of Netherlands. A guy called Ron Jansen. He's a Dutch guy. So we, in 25 years, we worked on different platforms like the Operas of the world, but we realized that it's important to have your own software, because you can customize it first of all, and people are now getting more into behavioral and attitudinal aspects of human being. The basics are taken care of: your likes, your dislikes, your reports, your yield management, your forecasting is all taken care of. What next are we looking at? That's where tech comes in. However, it should be implemented with the human touch. So what we do is we maintain a decent rooms to staff ratio. We've cut it down. However, we ensure that everything is AI enabled, right from the chatbots to the virtual assistants, to how we are actually marketing our hotel room, because the hotel room essentially is a perishable commodity. But tech, if it is being used to increase efficiencies, increase your yield, making sure that the customer is getting the best out of it, I think that's the combination of what we're working on.
I was coming about, for asking you about Staiforce and your proprietary hotel operation platform, right? So how does it enhance both guest experience and operational efficiency? So मेरा, क्योंकि आपने guest experience तो मेरे को बता दिया,
right?
So जो operational efficiency है, that is I think a very crucial factor.
So
in hotel industry.
yeah. So Staiforce essentially has all platform. It's got property management system in which the entire inventory is put. It's got reservations, it's got finance, it's got the back end human resources management, it's got the store management. Everything is inbuilt. All you need to do is put your entire inventory into there. So everything is automated. For example, when we have our stores, we follow first in first out principle. For example, FIFO is followed. Staiforce tells us what are the stuff in the store, both dry and wet store, which is available, what is the lifeline which is about to get expired, what should come first, all automated. You don't have to really have a human being to tell us this is a bottle of ketchup which is expired now, because that's a loss of revenue. Everything is automated. So everything in terms of cleaning to what are the issues coming up in the room, if it's a perennial issue, then taking that inventory out of order, everything is automated now. The only reason is because we want to ensure that we deliver more efficiency. So this platform has everything right from credit report to the invoices being made, to the money being collected, to the property management, to reservations being made, to the stores, human resources, your KPIs, net promoter score, everything is integrated into our software. So we built it up from scratch.
Alright, so is it one of its kind? You are the first to develop such.
It's our own product.
It's your own product,
Yes.
in-house, which is you're not outsourcing it.
Yeah, no. The idea is again, everything should be in-house. My idea was always that whatever you do, make it yourself, rather than getting into a subscription model and all that stuff. It takes time, but when you know and you understand the functioning of a software, why get somebody else? Make your own and then sell it. Huh?
Right.
Sell it to somebody else.
Right. That's a business mind.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. So having worked with legendary hotel brands like Taj for most of your career, and then ITC, Claridges, what lessons did you carry forward in building Signum?
So you know what, Taj essentially is all about humans, hospitality, warmth, reports, extremely good in terms of processes, SOPs, adherence, brand standards. Claridges is a legacy, it belongs to Mr. Nanda, they've got an iconic property in Claridges, New Delhi, and then of course the Taj Dubai and all. ITC again, an iconic brand. So my first formidable years in terms of becoming a hotelier, my fundamentals became very strong in terms of the real functioning of hotel, the nuts and bolts, the operations, the excellence, the use of training, which is extremely important in hospitality because generally owners do not feel the need of training. Having a standardized operation procedure, having brand standards, ensuring that is met, having audits done, ensuring your team does extremely well, staff attrition, controlling your people, having defined KPIs, performance indexes, having your parameters for the hotel, defining your competition set, the entire functioning and the nuts and bolts of the hotels were taught to me during these years. And that's exactly what we implemented when we started off. The idea is about ensuring that pick up the best practices and implement. If you have to become a serious, strong hotel player and known globally, you've got to know your job extremely well.
You know what, I have seen quite a few people, right, who have the core knowledge of a product, और उन्हें सब आता है. आपको A से लेके Z तक वो उस प्रोडक्ट के बारे में आपको सब बता देंगे. But when it comes to implementation, right, people lose it, right? What are those particular factors you think that people with immense, huge knowledge of a product are still not able to make good bootstrap businesses? मेरे को bootstrap बहुत पसंद है, इसीलिए I always ask people कि वो bootstrap क्यों नहीं हो पाता?
See, there is a guy called, and his name is Guy Kawasaki, and very famous author, and he says ideas are easy, execution is tough. If you've got your execution right, everybody would become a billionaire in this world. Simple as that. 90%, 95% of the people fail. I failed 1,000 times, and we keep failing. If you've got your idea well, in this world, essentially everybody is selling something or the other.
Absolutely.
The person who's either I am a product myself, either my service is a product, or either my IP is a product. But somebody or the other is a product. You are a product because you're making a podcast. I'm a product because I'm a hotelier. If I do not have an asset, my services is a product. Whatever transaction which happens, if it is not happening, that means the execution of the ideas is not happening. That means you are a failure. So first and foremost thing, when you've got your product right, or the fundamentals right, I think you must have heard about this guy called Simon Sinek, and he has this beautiful book which is How, When and What. So first is you've understood your what, and then if you know what your what is, then you how, and actually first comes why. Why do you want to do this? And then is the what, and then is the how. So if you've got all these places in places when you put the puzzle together, I think one can become successful. Idea is about trying and ensuring that you
Never
keep
stop trying.
and keep putting it into the people till the time that process becomes a habit. What is an SOP? It's just a process being repeated again and again and again and again till the time a person knows that I can't give away that. So that is the reason why a process is executed. It cannot happen because you have a lot of attrition, you have an SOP, you try to implement something, you lose something. But the idea is about keep trying and till the time it is embedded into people that I have to function in this way. So 20 दिन आप कोई भी आप काम करोगे ना, it becomes a habit. That's what I follow. If I read a book for 20 days consecutively, 21st day it will become a habit that I have to read. This is exactly what I tell my team also. Keep doing the thing for 20 days. It's painful, it's tough. People do not want to change, people do not accept change. But it has to be done, it has to be done. So simple ideas आएंगे, but execution में आपको you have to work extremely hard to get it executed.
Right. And innovation का सबके लिए अलग-अलग मतलब है. I would take your views on what innovation means to you and how does it encourage your organization.
In hotels, innovation is always about thinking again, what is it that you can do to create an extremely amazing experience for your customers. So for me, for example, I'll give you an example. If Siddharth is traveling to Leh Ladakh and he's staying in one of the hotels of ours and he stayed once and the next time he comes in again, I or the company knows that he likes to have his single espresso or double espresso. And that too in a place like Ladakh, where you probably find it challenging to get things implemented. We know what time or what breakfast does he have. Does he have egg which is parboiled or sous vide or probably he does it half boiled. All those likes and dislikes in anticipation is what is extremely important nowadays to create, and that comes from innovation. And your technology helps you to innovate. Right. So for example, if you're fond of a particular cuisine, we ensure or we try or we aspire to ensure that your like for a particular Chinese cuisine, which is one of the 7 regions of China, which is say Hunan cuisine, we actually pick up on your palate, and next time if you're traveling in any of our cities where we have a Chinese food festival happening, and that too specific dishes from that region, it is showcased to you to ensure that you order that dish. That is innovation and helping the customers to come back to you again. So the technology which we follow nowadays is helping us in reaching to such high emotional level and emotional connect with people. And that's what, that is extremely important, why innovation with a backup of technology is extremely important.
Wow, that's very mesmerizing to hear. Right. Okay, and the GCC region is culturally distinct, right? And what specific considerations did you take in account when launching Signum Hotels there?
So I'll give you an example. Again, for all our 6 years, every achievement what we've had has been very remarkable. Dubai is a place which is all about money, and even if you have 50 crores, probably you're one of the normal people. So we wanted to get into Dubai because our partners from London moved into Dubai. I took my residency, we took up a house and all that stuff. It's a brilliant country to work because you understand business dynamics very well. Law is very seriously taken. Hotels does extremely well. So I spoke to one of the industry veterans, very senior gentleman. He came down to meet me in my office and I said, sir, I want to take a hotel in Dubai. Can you help out? So he said, yeah, if you've got money. I said, yeah, we've got about a couple of crores and we can do that. So he says, okay, these are the hotels and the offer is about 30 crores per annum. So we had some investors and all that stuff. So we made an offer. And so we went to meet up with the owner. Owner is an Emirati, and the first meeting was extremely ruthless, brutal, and that's how Emiratis are.
Right.
And I was the one presenting. There were about 20 odd people, and he says, "Who are you? What is it? This, and all that stuff." And he literally created havoc. I said, "I mean, he's extremely rude and ruthless." One meeting, so he said, "What is your offer?" I said, "This is our offer. We offered, I think, 14.5 million dirhams and all that stuff." Okay, come back again. Then I went back again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings we did with him, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was wondering, in the last meeting, we started talking about, so Dubai has a culture of outsourcing F&B a lot.
Yeah.
So he says that F&B is not important in terms of positioning of the hotel.
Right.
So I said, listen, I've had 5 meetings and all my meetings we've had a tough time. So I think now I should give it back to him. So I said, his name is Mr. Mutava. I said, Mr. Mutava, I beg to differ. F&B is extremely important in terms of positioning of a hotel. Because if somebody is paying a rate of 1,000 dirham, the hotels which we run have a very high rate during seasons of about 1,200, 1,400 dirhams and all that. They are in Jumeirah. So if somebody is paying that kind of rate and he is in a restaurant which is outsourced to someone, that person will ensure that he gives you a basic buffet because he has to pay rental. The experiences of breakfast will not be the best. The spread will not be elaborate because the person has to pay rental. And once somebody has to pay rental, he does not care about quality. So I said, the reason why it is important that the F&B is extremely important because you give an experience when somebody is having breakfast in your hotel. And that, when he said, yeah, for the first time somebody actually said no to me on my face. 25th December last year, he said, Mehul, I don't want your money. I don't want to take it on lease. Why don't we just set up a new brand, a new company, and you become partners with us and take all hotels. So instead of paying that kind of money, we actually got all the hotels on management contract. We set up a new brand, a new company. We own 50%, they own 50%. All his hotels are into that entity. So it worked very well for us. Instead of taking it on lease, we got on management contract, which is extremely difficult for a small new brand like us to get hotels on management contract in Dubai. But yeah, we just got it. And now we're building up on those hotels. We've got 5 of them opening next month. Our team is already in Dubai, then in Jordan. And this owner has a lot of other hotels in that region. So it worked quite well for us.
So in our conversation, this is the second time I can realize the table turned around. Right.
तो सर अभी मैं पढ़ रहा था आपकी कंपनीज आपकी 3 कंपनीज हैं अलग अलग यूके इंडिया एंड मिडिल ईस्ट राइट सो उनका टर्नओवर लगभग 100 CR के आसपास है.
So UK is about 160. Dubai we've just started off about 22 CR about in the last. India is the lowest at about 12 and a half.
Okay.
So combined is about 150, 160.
Okay. Yeah. So ये सारी मतलब 150-200 करोड़ की आप कंपनी चलाते हैं.
नहीं मैं मतलब
सारे चलाते हैं. As in
it's through more of JVs and all that stuff.
Right. Yes. So you are one of the key pillars of those companies. Right. And मैं जानना चाहूँगा कि how does your day look like? कि start जब आप उठते हैं तो क्या रहता है फिर आप how do you progress your day along? So ताकि और वो जो mindset होता है daily basis के ऊपर daily काम करना है daily जाना है. How do you keep yourself motivated as a person to keep that business growing?
So my day starts at 5 in the morning. I get up at 5. I go for a walk, run about 10 kilometers every day. Come back. I have a small yoga session which I do.
Okay.
Then I have my morning meetings and all that stuff. 1 o'clock lunch, and then afterwards I always make it a point to read a book of 40 pages every day. Okay. So I've got a nice small library. Habit. Yeah, small library which I've made in my office. So I read that, and then followed by meetings and all that stuff. And I end my day at 6:30. I go for a quick workout for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and then finish my day by about 7:30. The good part is that I stay, and my office is just about 10 minutes from the place, and sleep by 10. Have a very fixed, disciplined lifestyle, and it comes essentially because my father was in the army, and I follow that kind of a schedule quite well. And yes, of course, when you're traveling, then you probably sleep at about 11:30. But mostly, I retire by that time. I think it's important to have an extremely disciplined life, first of all. And secondly, to answer your question up, how do you plan and all that stuff? See, when you love your work so much now, then you are then you don't feel you're working. So what I do is, I love doing what I'm doing. So मेरे को कभी लगता ही नहीं मैं काम कर रहा हूँ. मेरे को लगता है कि ऐसे मैं 100 साल भी निकाल सकता हूँ, because I just don't feel I'm working. It's a part of my life. If I'm not meeting people, I have a problem. If I'm not traveling, I have a problem. If I'm not staying at a hotel, I have a problem. If I'm not trying a new cuisine, I have a problem. Okay. And all this is my job. So it's important that you have to love what you do in life. Chahe aap, even if you're selling a tea, you have to love what you do, because the love with which you work, it comes in the product which you make.
Right.
अगर आप वो काम अपने दिल से करते हो और अपने पैशन से करते हो, it comes across. No matter what we can talk about, कि we are this, we are that, and it's robotic in nature and all that stuff, but the human element, it always comes when you speak. It always comes in whatever work which you do. So I think I've been very, very lucky and blessed that I've got to work with in an industry which I loved for the last 27, 28 years, ever since I was a child. And I was fortunate enough to even meet the legends of Dalai Lamas or Mr. Ratan Tatas of the world, see the best celebrity, because I was working in Taj. And I still remember one incident. I was an assistant manager in Taj Mansingh, and Mr. Ratan Tata was actually hosting a dinner for the UBS Bank.
Okay.
So this was in 2008. So obviously it was a very, very important event, and I actually sneaked in. And I went up to Mr. Tata and I said, "Sir, I would like to shake hands with you. And thank you so much for this wonderful organization called the Taj. And I'm really, really indebted to you." And his answer was, and that is the reason why he's called Mr. Ratan Tata, he said, "Actually, thank you to you to make a company which is so good that people come and work with us."
Wow.
So that was the answer of Mr. Ratan Tata. And so when you meet such legends in your life, I mean, I've met so many actors, politicians, ministers, chief ministers, prime ministers, that you feel you have a truly blessed life. And this is what hotels give you. You get the best people. When you work for a brand like a Taj, you see the best people. You see all the actors. When there is large events which happen, like the leadership summits which happen, I've been fortunate enough to attend all these summits. I think they are a different league of people, and there is so much to learn from each one of them which comes in. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that when you love your job extremely well, I think every day is a blessing. So I don't have to think कि कल क्या करना है. I look forward on Sunday evenings कि यार कल Monday आ रहा है, कल और काम करेंगे. But नौकरी में कई बार होता था यार 2 छुट्टी चलेगी, अब अगले दिन क्या करेंगे.
Absolutely.
But अब तो मेरे को लगता है जल्दी खत्म हो ताकि next day it's going to be more exciting. So I think that's the beauty about being an entrepreneur. You think so much differently, so much outside, so much which people might think that you're mad, people might think you're crazy, people might think that पागल आदमी है ये. That's okay. One life you have to live to the fullest extent.
So you said you read at least 40 pages a day, and
Yes.
that's the habit that you have developed.
Yes.
Right. So one other day, the other day we were also having a podcast, and there was a quote that came around, and it was "Readers are leaders," and vice versa. So what impact do you think the reading as an habit has on you in creating Signum as a brand which it is today?
So you know what, when you read books, so I'm reading a book called The Diary of a CEO. It's by a gentleman called Stephen Bartlett. Yeah, beautiful book. And when you read books, I make notes and I try to implement in my day-to-day life.
Wow.
So there is another book which I love the most. It's called The Hard Thing of the Hard Things by a guy called, I'm forgetting the name, but beautiful, Robin, I'm forgetting the name, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
So when you read, I think it's important that you take notes and ensure that's implemented in your day-to-day life. Because generally what is the issue is, आप पढ़ते हैं but 2 दिन बाद आप भूल जाते हैं.
Right.
So I think I make it a point to make notes and implement in our day-to-day activities. Currently I'm also reading a book which is called Finance for Non-Finance Managers, because I think that as any business person, you have to understand your finance extremely well.
Right.
So
Yes.
I think that's what it is. Reading, but implementing even the smallest possible thing which you can implement in your business has helped me, because I wrote down, and that's how you improve upon yourself.
I would be taking a very generic question, because you are currently running properties in Dubai. So I have seen a data wherein people who are making approximately 5 CR in terms of revenue are leaving India, and that number is almost 2 lakh people every year gave away their Indian citizenship, and they are even moving to cities like Dubai and majorly the Middle East, and obviously US, Canada, and other countries. So, how do you think and why do you think it is happening? Because because taxation was the major reason that I, read that particular आर्टिकल कि अगर आप 5 करोड़ कमा रहे हो तो आप ऑलमोस्ट इनडायरेक्टली 40%, 42% के आसपास आप टैक्स दे देते हो गवर्नमेंट को, प्लस ओवर 5 CR ऑफ रेवेन्यू, एंड Dubai being the tax haven for the entrepreneurs, so people are moving there. So do you really think it is happening because of the taxation in India? Or
people think that it's the quality of life, sense of security, the overall infrastructure, education system, medical, and all that stuff. It's a culmination of everything. Game. But personally, I'm a very patriotic person because my father fought the 71 war. My brother served in Siachen, Kargil. He's currently a colonel in the army, and he was a part of the entire operations which is happening. He's been to Siachen when the temperature was minus 65. He served there for 6 months. So I come from that background, and I personally feel being an Indian is that whatever success which you do, I think it is the moral responsibility of us to give it back to the country.
Right.
Our country has done a lot, and personally I feel that in spite of the fact that we're doing businesses outside India, it happened because we were at the right place at the right time. But people currently have become extremely materialistic. What they feel is that for future generations, in terms of their sense of security, money, in terms of being a tax haven, or multiple reasons, I think it's best to shift outside. But my request to a lot of people would be, I think you should never forget your roots. The country gave you birth, and I think somebody had rightly said that don't ask what
your mother has done for you,
what you've done, what the country has done for you. I think you should ask what you've done for your country. So I think it's morally everybody's responsibility to give it back to our country. Look at how our leadership, our Prime Minister, the way he serves, and it's called actually servant leadership. This is something which I also learnt, and this is exactly what is being followed by our ministers. They really get down to the level at the grassroots, and they are helping the foundation becoming very strong. So there are superficial and reasons for which people would like to leave, but I think it's very, very short-sightedness. I think it's best that whatever talent which we have available in our country, whatever resources which we have, I think the extremely pragmatic approach to the businesses which we do, I personally feel that we should continue and develop our country rather than making money for some other country itself. Do it, but I think substantial businesses should always be in the place which you've spent your entire and where you were born, essentially.
Well, that's a very, very kind thought towards the country, and it should be the mindset. But also, do you also think somehow the less knowledge about the government policies which can actually boost up the startups is there कि आप तक proper knowledge पहुंची नहीं है? कि आपको अभी जो scheme आई है, I was talking to the other guy the other day. He said मैं तो दुबई जा रहा हूँ भाई, मेरा हो गया है कि ऐसे ऐसे इतना टैक्स कौन देगा यहाँ पे. मैं कहता यार तू पहले स्टार्ट तो कर. कहता कि मैं इतना 5 CR के रिवेन्यू के ऊपर मेरे को इतना देना पड़ेगा. मैं कहता वो 5 CR की रिवेन्यू की जो बात है ना, अब आपका टर्नओवर अगर 100 CR है तो आपको वो भी नहीं करानी पड़ेगी जो आपकी टैक्सेशन वगैरह की चीज़ें होती हैं, या कोई आपकी क्या ऑडिट जो होता है आपको वो भी नहीं कराना है. सो आप रुको, उसके बाद मतलब अगर प्रॉपर नॉलेज इम्पार्ट हो पाए सो ये नंबर हम कम कर पाएंगे कि people leaving India or taking.
I think what you said is, and you really hit upon, because fact यही है. मेरे को भी नहीं पता, आज मेरे को 3-4 ऐसी स्कीम पता चली हैं, the grants which is being given.
Yes.
मेरे को नहीं पता था.
Okay.
So there is subsidies, CGST में पता नहीं कुछ स्कीम्स होती हैं, स्टार्टअप स्कीम है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर कोई योजना है, बहुत है, हमें नहीं पता. We don't know about it. I think it's about awareness. I also feel that the government should also And I think it's taken a lot of steps in taking or considering startup as a very strong tool in taking the economy to the next level.
Right.
But it takes time because of sheer volumes of people in the startup which are coming up. But there's enough and more available in the market. Banks, SIDBI, for example, it works very well with the startup. There is other institutions, other microfinancing, which is only into startup, which is collateral free loan, which we don't know about that, starting of 50 lakhs and going up to about 1 crore or 2. Taxation is fine, which means you're making profit and the money is eventually being used in the country for the development of the country only. There's something called a minimum alternate tax. We also pay that.
Yes.
But now the slabs have been revised and all that stuff. But the idea is that be aware of the scheme which is available by the government. Yes, there is red tapeism which is there. Yes, there is bureaucracy. Yes, the process is slow. But I think in the last 10 years, the development which has happened, especially in the startup phase, is commendable. We have to see the sheer size of people. I mean, the largest populated country in the world. अगर आप उसको गवर्नमेंट को आप बोलोगे कि भैया गवर्नमेंट कुछ नहीं कर रही है, तो गवर्नमेंट इतने स्केल को लाने के लिए भी बहुत एफर्ट लगते हैं. But I think we're on the right track. We just have to be aware of it and utilize the best possible thing which is available from the government, and government is there to help us out.
All right. So अब हम वापस से Signum की तरफ आते हैं. So Signum has been recognized by Forbes, right? And congratulations to you and the efforts. And the other prestigious platforms as well are recognizing Signum these days. So what do these recognitions means to you?
So Forbes were very interesting. We got a mail from Forbes. I thought probably it was fake. I thought because आजकल ये भी बहुत होता है.
Right.
Then they had 7 interviews back to back, and then a lot of due diligence. So Forbes actually recognized us with an award on the 14th of November at the Taj Palace as a company with a global business potential. And essentially what they saw is in the last 6 years how we managed to scale our operations in UK, moved into UAE. So a company with Indian roots but managed. Or going global. So I think it gave a very, very strong platform. Having being recognized by such a prestigious entity like Forbes means a lot. But the good part is that I think people are reaching out. If you're working hard and if you're giving your best, people will reach out. Sooner than later, it will happen. If you are really contributing well to the specific segment of the business where you're into, you will get your due recognition. It could be later, sooner, and all that stuff. That's a matter of time. But I personally feel one should not work for the rewards and all that stuff. I think rewards is a byproduct of work which you do. So if you're doing the right work, some way or the other, you will probably get recognized. Even if you don't get recognized, how does it matter? Na apna kaam karo, chalte ho. So that's what it is.
And what qualities do you prioritize, when assembling leadership team that is spread across multiple countries, and countries like UK, India, and UAE?
So you know what, if I would rather work with somebody who is 5. If I were to rate out of 10, I would rate 5 on technical skills, but I would rate somebody on 8 on honesty, integrity, hard work, gritty, determined. I would rather work with such people rather than somebody who's technically very, very savvy. Somebody 5 on 10 on technical, but extremely high on honesty and hard work, I would place my bet completely. So the qualities which I look personally is your commitment, your hard work, the real fire which you have in you, the zeal which you have, how hungry are you to be successful in life. If you do not have hunger to be successful in life, I don't think so you can make it. 99% of the people are not successful because they don't want to work hard.
Right.
Only 1%, and that's the reason why it's so easy to be at the top, because there is no competition over there. Na? There's sare to piche baithe hue hain. So the good part about doing anything is that there are very few people who are doing it, but you have to do 100 times more than anybody else would do. People do not. I've seen people just giving up. Once, twice, thrice, people give up. So for me, the most important quality is how gritty you are, how much defeat or failure you can take, how much humility can you work with, how humble you are, how grounded you are, how much can you keep your head high when absolutely your chips are down. I think these are most important qualities, because technical is something which can be trained upon. Attitude you can't train. Attitude defines the altitude. Simple as that. आपका attitude define करता है आप कितने ऊपर जाओगे life में. There is nothing else to it. And people say you're lucky or somebody is lucky. There's nothing. I don't believe in the word called luck. I think it's pure hard work. How the more hard you work, the luckier you become in life. Simple.
What is your take?
The more hard you work, the more luckier you become.
Right.
Simple. There is no other. Everything else I feel is fine. People say that, okay, you're lucky or you've been extremely fortunate and this and that. Nothing of this. So people don't see the fight and the struggle. I think जितनी आप मेहनत करोगे उतने आप lucky बनोगे. Simple.
Right.
बाकी luck is nothing.
And what do you think, you said that discipline is also a key, and how do you, what is your take on, discipline with consistency? How does it, matter in, running that, a kind of business that you are running?
So discipline, both in personal and professional front, is extremely important. And consistency, and I've given you specific examples of how I've learned in people, how well they are disciplined when it comes to their lives. Consistency is important, because when you repeat a particular process once, twice, it tends to fall down in terms of the quality. The beauty about being successful is how well do you ensure that particular task is consistently repeated again and again and again without the fall in the quality. So again, extremely important, because consistency drop hoti hai. Look at the Oberoi Hotels. I mean, till today, if you go and stay at the Oberois or eat at the Oberois, the services is impeccable. People will change. The services is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Right.
That's consistency. Every time they deliver better than yesterday. That's the Oberois. Every day is better than yesterday. That's the Oberois.
And looking forward, where do you envision Signum Hotels from, 5 years from now? And what kind of legacy do you hope, to build as a founder?
See, we will continue to operate in middle, upper upscale. We will not get into luxury space, because there's a lot of competition anyways out there. And of course, we'll be beaten out by large brands. We stand no competition. The legacy, I think, what I feel is that if you are contributing to the society, if you're working towards the upliftment of the common people, if you're helping and putting the money back into the system, or the or working towards the upliftment of the common man, that's the legacy which I would like to leave when I do this. Personally, for me, I think it's important that we touch upon thousands of lives. We help to impact many lives in terms of helping them out in moving out of what their current lifestyle is, and how we can improve them. Because ultimately, when you follow a Maslow's theory, when you reach a certain level in terms of your physiological, psychological, basic social needs and all that stuff, I think at the top of the pyramid, whenever you're there, it's important that you give it back to the society.
Right.
So I think that's a legacy which I feel everybody should have. And look at the large companies and the legacies which they've left behind. Look at the Tatas, look at the Reliance and the larger companies. Look at Wipro, look at Mr. Azim Premji and the kind of contribution which he's done in terms of the
education, basically.
That's what legacy is all about. It's all about how much can you impact the day-to-day lives of people, both in terms of education, eradication of poverty, medicine, and making the world a better place. I think that's the legacy which we all should leave behind when we move ahead.
Right. So ये जितने भी questions हमारे थे, ये basically आपकी brand के around थे. Now I as an entrepreneur would like to ask you a few very generic questions, right? A segment of business that you would start if you have no money today in India.
अब तो कुछ नहीं कर सकता. अगर आप 100 करोड़ भी दोगे मैं नहीं करूँगा.
In India.
Nowhere, because it is extremely tough.
Okay.
I can't. if somebody says take 200 crores, start another business, I can't do it. It's
You are
it's
very
so
happy
tough.
with what you are doing now.
I'm happy, but it's very tough. I
Okay.
didn't realize it.
Okay.
कि इतना tough हो सकता है business करना. So अभी कुछ नहीं.
And
And hotels के अलावा, honestly, I eat, dream and breathe hotels. There is nothing else I can think of. So even if you offer me 100 crores, 200 crores, I will put it back into the business.
I'll still ask you one more question related to this. One sector apart from hotel, if you want to start today in India with 100 CR, again 100 CR, what would you do?
I'll get into AI.
AI.
Yeah.
And how do you think that AI would?
There are so many processes and so many tasks or so many industries which can actually be
Built on AI.
which can be built around AI, and the processes can be simplified.
Okay.
The costs can really come down. The cost majorly in India is a human capital cost, which also means that there will be issues of joblessness and all that stuff. But I think a lot can be streamlined. The process can be really fast, and it can be automated. So I think I would place my bet on AI for sure.
All right. So that's all from my side, sir. And it was lovely having you. Thank you so much for
Thank you so
coming
much for
to
having me
Thought
here.
Curry.
Yeah.
Right. And hope to have a one more podcast with you very soon, and hope to see you somewhere in
Thank
Dubai
you
or maybe
for
in
having me here.
UK.
It was wonderful speaking to you.
Likewise, sir. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much.